Good morning everyone, and thank you for having me here in virtual form for the 2016 ACCANect National Conference. I wish I could have been with you in person, but as Parliament's sitting this week, I'm unable to join you in Sydney. Can I give a special thanks to ACCAN Chair Johanna Plant and CEO Teresa Corbyn for inviting me to speak today. The conference theme of equipping consumers to stay connected is very close to the heart of the government's priorities in my portfolio. Staying connected is of ever-increasing importance at a time when more and more aspects of our daily lives are moving online. It means being connected to family and friends, connected to services like banking and shopping, and connected to government services which are hopefully delivered in ways online that are more convenient for citizens. But as more and more aspects of our lives move online, the greater the risk that some citizens could be left on the wrong side of the digital divide. And those citizens are often amongst our most vulnerable. Those on low incomes who mightn't be able to afford to connect. People with disabilities who might require special technologies to connect. And those in remote locations who are experiencing technical challenges in connecting. These are the groups who often need connectivity the most, but have the least ability to access the things which most of us take for granted. And I'm sure that many of you would have seen Telstra's recently released Digital Inclusion Index report. And while this report did have some good news, that Australia's overall digital inclusion score has improved since 2014, there's still more work to do. And the report found that Australia's most digitally excluded groups are people aged over 65, people with disability, people with less than secondary education, Indigenous Australians and people on low incomes or people who are unemployed. The challenge of equipping consumers to stay connected is one which requires all our efforts. And it's a challenge which the government is responding to in a number of ways. First and foremost, an essential factor in bridging the digital divide is ensuring that all Australians have the ability to access high-speed broadband as soon as possible, and thankfully the rollout of the national broadband network continues apace. Today, more than 3 million premises are now able to access the NBN. That's 1 in 4 Australian premises, and 70% of these premises are in regional or non-metropolitan areas as we prioritise the areas that need it most. And in the last 4 weeks alone, 90,000 premises have hooked up to the NBN. That's an average of 4,500 premises each working day. Secondly, our Mobile Black Spot program will deliver almost 500 new mobile base stations to where they're needed most. And many more locations will receive better mobile connectivity through 2 further funding rounds. And thirdly, the government's committed 50 million to improve the digital literacy of senior Australians and improve their safety online. We'll develop a digital inclusion and online safety strategy for senior Australians, which complements existing programs that we have. The Bureau of Statistics estimates that over 65s spend 7 hours a week online. Now, while this is a little less time online than the grandkids playing Pokemon Go, it does demonstrate a real interest in online engagement once older people have the right skills. And fourthly, we've also committed to a review of consumer safeguard regulations, which will be conducted alongside the Productivity Commission inquiry into the USO. Australia's fixed line telecommunications infrastructure will change more during the term of this Parliament than it has over the last century. The fixed line network, which has historically connected almost every Australian premise to provide voice-only services, will transform so that by 2020, every Australian premise will be able to connect for high-speed broadband through the NBN. As a result, many pages of legislation developed during a voice-only era will rapidly become obsolete. I look forward to working with all of you on this review when it's public for release and for discussion. We've also recently concluded a consultation process on the National Relay Service in the Communications Accessibility 2016 and Beyond paper. This paper canvassed the growing number of technology options available to people with special communications needs and sought feedback on options to ensure the sustainable funding of the National Relay Service. The government is committed to ensuring that Australians with a hearing or speech impairment are able to access the communications services they need. The government is currently considering stakeholder feedback into this consultation process, and I look forward to sharing the outcomes with you in due course. So, to conclude, thank you ACCAN for all your work representing consumers and for your contribution to the communications sector. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference, and thanks very much for having me.